If you have ever tried to pay off debt and failed, I need you to understand something before we go any further. It was not your fault. Not the way people usually mean that. Not in the vague, comforting, nothing is ever really your fault kind of way. I mean it specifically and literally. The reason your debt payoff attempts did not work is that you were working with incomplete information. You were handed a partial map and told it was the whole thing. And then when you got lost, the financial industry quietly concluded that the problem was you. It was not. The problem was the map. My name is Harvey, and today I am going to give you the complete picture, the 3 parts of debt that most financial content deliberately glosses over, the math that makes minimum payments feel reasonable when they absolutely are not, and the system that will let you calculate your way out instead of suffering your way out. If this kind of content helps you think differently about money, subscribe and hit that like button before we are done. Let us start with the number that should make you angry. If you have $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest, and you make only the minimum payment every month, which is typically around $25, you will be paying that debt for over 17 years. And by the time you make that final payment, you will have paid back more than $10,000 on a $5,000 balance. Read that again. 17 years. More than double the original amount. That is not bad luck. That is not a complicated economic force beyond your control. That is arithmetic. And it is arithmetic the credit card company understood completely before they sent you the card. Because here is what the minimum payment actually is. It is not a payment plan. It is a subscription. A subscription to your debt. The minimum payment is specifically engineered to be just large enough to prevent default, which would cost the bank money, and just small enough to ensure the interest never stops compounding. The bank is not offering you a minimum payment as a service. They are offering it as a product. A product that generates them thousands of dollars of revenue from your $5,000 balance over the next 17 years. This is truth number 1. The minimum payment is not a path out of debt. It is a mechanism designed to keep you in it. Truth number 2 is the one that completely reframes how you should think about paying off debt, and most people have never heard it stated this way. Paying off debt is investing, and for most people, it is the best guaranteed investment they have access to. Here is exactly what I mean. If you have a credit card charging you 22% interest, paying off that card gives you a guaranteed 22% return on every dollar you put toward it. You do not need to pick the right stock. You do not need to time the market perfectly. You do not need to understand the difference between an ETF and a mutual fund. You simply eliminate a guaranteed 22% loss that is occurring every single month. The stock market, specifically a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, has returned an average of roughly 10% annually over the last 50 years. Your credit card is charging you 22%. That gap, 22% guaranteed loss versus 10% historical average gain, is the most important number in your financial life right now. Every dollar you put into an index fund while carrying 22% credit card debt is a dollar earning 10% while losing 22% simultaneously. The math does not work. The debt is the investment. Pay it off first. Truth number 3 is where most debt payoff advice gets it wrong, or at least where it gets incomplete in a way that causes real people to fail. The order you pay off your debt changes everything. There are 2 main approaches to debt payoff that financial advisors argue about constantly. The Avalanche method. You pay off your highest interest rate debt first, regardless of the balance size. This is the mathematically optimal approach. It saves the most money in total interest over the life of your debt. The Snowball method? You pay off your smallest balance first, regardless of the interest rate. Not mathematically optimal. But here is the thing that pure math misses. Debt payoff is not a math problem you solve in a spreadsheet once. It is a behavioral system you maintain for months or years. And behavioral systems run on momentum and on proof that the system is actually working. When you pay off a small debt completely,
When you eliminate it from your list entirely and feel that particular combination of relief and momentum, something psychological shifts. You have proof. The system works. The next debt does not feel impossible because the previous one is gone. The snowball is rolling. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that people who use the snowball method are more likely to complete their debt payoff journey than people who use the mathematically optimal avalanche. A plan you actually finish is worth more than an optimal plan you abandon. Here is my honest recommendation. If you are carrying high interest debt above 20%, particularly credit card debt, tackle that first, regardless of the balance, because the interest is destructive enough to override the psychology argument. For everything below 15%, use the snowball. Pay minimum payments on everything and redirect every extra dollar to the smallest balance until it is gone. Then redirect that payment plus the freed minimum to the next one.
Here is the reframe that ties all three truths together. Debt is not a character flaw. It is a math problem. It has a balance, it has an interest rate, it has a payoff timeline. All three of those numbers are knowable. All three can be changed. The system that changes them is not complicated. It requires clarity, not heroism. Most financial advice about debt treats it as a moral failing that requires sacrifice and discipline to overcome. That framing keeps people stuck because it makes the problem feel personal rather than mathematical. When debt is a character flaw, failing to pay it off means something about who you are. When debt is a math problem, failing to pay it off simply means you have not yet applied the correct algorithm. Your debt is not a reflection of your character. It is a reflection of incomplete information and a financial system that profits significantly from keeping you inside it. So here is the system. Step 1. Write down every debt you carry, every single one. The balance, the interest rate, and the minimum monthly payment. No avoidance, complete visibility. This step alone changes your relationship with the problem because avoidance feeds anxiety and clarity reduces it. Step 2. Choose your method. If you have any debt above 20% interest, that is your immediate target, regardless of balance. For everything else, use the snowball, smallest balance first. Commit to the method you choose. Do not switch strategies halfway through consistency. Consistency matters more than optimization in the early stages. Step 3. Redirect every available dollar to the target debt. Cancel subscriptions you do not use. Reduce one spending category. Redirect any windfall, a tax refund, a bonus, a birthday gift, directly to the balance. Every extra dollar on the target debt is a guaranteed return equal to the interest rate it eliminates. That is the highest return available to you today. Treat it like one.
The people who escape debt permanently do not suffer their way out. They calculate their way out. They know their numbers. They chose a method and stayed with it. They understood that every extra dollar on the target balance was not a sacrifice. It was the single highest return investment available to them on that day. And they stopped treating debt as evidence of who they are and started treating it as a problem with a known solution. You now have the complete map. The only question left is when you start using it.